everyone, welcome back to my channel. Guys, this video marks 1 year that I've been doing Herstory. Marks 1 year since this channel began, 1 year of doing this with a month off, but 1 year regardless of doing these videos. Another thing that happened over the weekend, I officially hit 100 subscribers, which, I mean, of course, that doesn't compare to others that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but in our little community, 100 is still a whole lot. And continue to keep watching and keep on subscribing and keep on sharing so that then hopefully by this time next year, we are up to maybe 200 or 300. Let's just keep this momentum going. I am very happy for the 100 of you that subscribed and find my stuff entertaining and interesting, and I hope that you learn a lot of the time. I hope you learn a lot of the time. We'll go with that grammar. So it is March 2024, Women's History Month, and with that marks the theme month of Herstory, all about women. Let's get into this thing, which started this whole channel, women and Women's History Month. So, Marines. Oh yeah, baby. Hardcore freaking people. We all know that the Marines are the toughest of the tough when it comes to the U.S. military. I mean, if you've ever seen Marine boot camp,
recruit training culminates in an event known as the Crucible.
The men and women that serve in the Marines are the best of the best. But do you know the first female to join the Marine Corps Reserve? That'd be Opha Johnson. Let's get started. 1 year anniversary, let's get going on this shit. And really fast, her name, Opha, see, her name Opha is very interesting. So if I call her Opha, I don't mean to do that. It's Opha or Opha, but it's mainly Opha. If I call her Opha, I'm sorry, but her name is Opha. Opha May Jacob was born on May 4th, 1878 in Kokomo, Indiana. Her parents were William and Ella B. Jacob. Now, very little is known about her childhood, but what we do know is that when she was young, her family moved to Vermont, and then by 1895, the family moved to Washington, D.C. By June of 1895, she graduated salutatorian of her class, meaning she ranked second highest in her class from Woods Commercial College in D.C., graduating from the shorthand and typewriting department at the school. After she graduated, she got a job at an insurance office, then moved to New York for a stenographic job. Stenography is shorthand, which my grandma knew shorthand. I think she still does. I don't know if she has dementia, so I don't know if she would know shorthand anymore. She showed me how to do it once. That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. How shorthand works, and then you have to like go then to a book to translate it all. Fascinates me. Shorthand, anybody out there that knows shorthand? Props to you. That's impressive. On December 20th, 1895, Opha married Victor Hugo Johnson at the 6th Presbyterian Church in D.C. When they got married, Victor was the musical director at the Lafayette Square Opera House, which was an opera house in Washington, D.C. and had recently been built in 1895. She found secretarial work with the Interstate Commerce Commission, and she would stay there when the First World War began on July 28, 1914. Now, when America entered World War I on April 6, 1917, American women served their country in a moral and economic supporting role. These women would buy and sell war bonds, which are debt security issued by the government to finance military operations, and other things in order to not raise taxes to an unpopular level. They would also send supplies and clothes to troops, held gift drives, and rationed food. Many women helped the war effort through organizations that helped soldiers and the government, like through the Red Cross and Salvation Army. But the closest women got to the front lines were as nurses in the hospital units or as humanitarian workers helping in the trenches, which you could not pay me enough to go into a World War I trench. Nope. But as the war continued, and if you know anything about World War I, a lot of people were dying. Because of this, the U.S. really needed workers to fill jobs that became vacant because the guy doing that job left to fight the war overseas. And this is how women basically flooded any and all jobs that socially were seen as not womanly, as I like to put it. Waves of women flooded administrative, factory, even rail working positions that before this would have been off limits to women. And this wave would be the precursor, so when World War II broke out, this women working wave would become even bigger, and this would then create Rosie the Riveter. Come on. Yeah. Is it the right arm? Or is it? No. She goes like this, right? Like that, right? Women. When it comes to the Marines, by the summer of 1918, it became clear that they too needed the help of women to work in non-traditional roles. Following the German offensive in the spring of 1918 and the defeat at the Second Battle of Marne in France, Allied powers found themselves on the offensive, and it came at no small cost. With the amount of casualties the Allies had, which totaled 120,000, 12,000 of those were Americans. The military realized they needed ways to increase the number of trained troops in Europe, and they needed them like yesterday. Now, though it would take the US military a couple more decades to use women as combat troops, there were other ways during this time that women could help America's strength in France. On August 2nd, 1918, Commandant of the Marine Corps, Major General George Bennett, sent a request to the Secretary of the Navy, Joseph Daniels, asking for women to be enrolled in the Marine Corps to replace men in secretarial roles. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is the key reason George had for this request is that there were many secretarial and administrative duties that women could do just as well as men, and that by giving women these jobs, that gave the front lines more men. And just 6 days later, on August 8th, Josephus approved the request, and the news spread like wildfire by word of mouth and the media, and 5 days after that, enlistments of women began. On August 13th, 1918, at a Washington, D.C. recruiting station, Opha was first in line and thereby became the first woman to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. She was 39 when she enlisted, which compare that to like the men that were enlisting that were like what, 12? Yeah. Now, why Opha joined the Marines and did what she did, we have no idea. There are no diaries or personal records of her feelings during her time, but what we do know about her time in the Marines is that she took the job seriously. Newspapers across the country announced Opha's enlistment as the first woman in the Marines, and though she was the first of thousands to enlist in the Marine Corps Reserve during World War I, after the rigorous interview process, examinations, and extreme qualifications the Marines required, only 305 women successfully joined the Marine Corps Reserve, Opha being one of them. Known as crack typists, Opha's first job was to manage the records of the women recruits at the Marine Corps headquarters in Arlington, Virginia. Now, though these women were doing very important work, the men still degraded them by giving them demeaning nicknames like she-marines, fee-marines, or marinettes. Even though Opha wasn't the Marine that we think of today, she was still a Marine, and a very impressive one. By September of that year, just a month after enlisting, mind you, she was promoted to sergeant. That made Opha the highest ranking woman in the Marine Corps during her service. She Marine that, boys. Though Opha's time in the Marines was short, having the war ending in November of 1919, she and her fellow women Marines made a huge impact. By January of 1919, Opha was the only female reservist working in the quartermaster department who held the rank of sergeant. This department's mission is to support the production, development, acquisition of general supplies, substances, petroleum, water, and material, and distribution during peace and war times for the U.S. Army. Though their role was mainly behind the scenes and they faced many pressures from their peers, the press, and the country, the first women of the Marine Corps performed their duties that demanded respect and dignity. Major General Commandant George called the service of these women Marines, quote, uniformly excellent. On July 11th, 1919, the American Legion added Opha's name to the members of the Belleau Wood Post No. 1. This post was created by the first women of the Marine Corps and was the first post dedicated to women. Following the end of the war, all of the Marine reservists were gradually discharged, but many, including now Sergeant Opha, decided to stay working in the War Department in the role of civil servants, and she continued this work for decades to follow. She would stay in touch with her fellow comrades and remained involved in any and all Marine things after her discharge, and continued to advocate for women in the military. She stayed at the Marine headquarters in D.C. till she retired from service in 1943 and would stay in D.C. with her husband for the rest of their lives. Opha May Johnson died on August 11th, 1955 at Mount Alto Veterans Hospital at the age of 76. Her funeral service at Warner E. Pumphrey Funeral Home on August 13th, 1955 was 37 years to the day from when she stood in line to become the first female U.S. Marine. I have no idea if that was planned, but that's freaking awesome. She is buried next to her husband and parents at Rock Creek Cemetery, and for a time, her grave was unmarked. That changed in late 2017 when the Women Marine Association began to raise funds to place a marker on Opha's burial site. On August 29th, 2018, Opha's marker was erected. This celebrated 100 years of women in the Marines. We just love all this synchronicity. Opha lived long enough to see her legacy by being the first female Marine evolve in waves. She lived to see Captain Annie Lentz become the first female commissioned officer, see women raising the colors at the Marine barracks, and to see Staff Sergeant Barbara Olive Barnwell become the first female Marine to be awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for her heroism by saving a fellow Marine from drowning in the freaking Atlantic Ocean in 1952. On August 10th, 2022, the Marine Training Center at Gearsome Air Reserve Base was renamed the Sergeant Opha May Johnson Marine Reserve Center. This day marked the 247th anniversary of the founding of the freaking Marines. We're just loving all these anniversary synchronicities of when her name is added to anything. That next day, a monument honoring Opha was revealed in her hometown of Kokomo, Indiana. Okay, there we go. Now you know the story of the first female Marine. Her story is short, but nonetheless very important. I'm a little bit bummed that we don't know more about her life. She was still the first female Marine, and her story is important. If you learned something today, and I sure hope you did, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And while you're down there, please leave a friendly comment and share these videos. Let's get more subscribers going. I'm really kind of giddy that even though it's just 100, it's still 100 subs, and it's really awesome. Yay us. Yay. Yay. Okay, what do I say next? I will be back next week with another video, and until then, don't be well behaved. You just might make herstory. See you next time, guys.